Welcome back to a new one on the MPC, and on this one we need to discuss the sample edit, the option that you have right here, and this is going to be the screen when we load a sample. So you might need, and actually you need, to know how the sample edit works. And you need to do it just to adjust or perform tasks like chopping a sample or adjusting a sample. Even if you're using a drum program or you need to edit a sample, you need to learn this. I'm on an empty project and I'm going to need a sample. I'm going to go to my projects, my directory, and I'm going to use a couple of samples. You don't need to use the same samples I'm going to use. You can use your own samples. In this case, I want to load that one, the one that says AST01. Once you load it, it's going to be inside your pool, your sample pool. If I go back to main, you can see that I have no drum program. There's just nothing. And these samples are not assigned to anything because I have no programs. But you know what I want to do first? I want to grab that sample and do maybe something with that sample. So if I go to sample edit, at the top, you will have all the different samples. If you select or just import different samples like this one or this one and this one, it doesn't matter. And you go back to the sample edit, you go here at the top and you change or select whatever sample that you want to work with. In this case, I'm going to be using this one, the AST01. At the top of the screen, you have some functions. Right now, you have the stems, which is something new at this point, just like the release of the 3.0, you know. So I'm recording this and the 3.0 version of the software was announced. So I'm just kind of finishing recording everything. And then I'm going to be covering the whole 3.0, but it's going to take, a little while. And still, it's in beta, so it will take a little while for the software to be stable. Now, I'm going to go here and you can rename the sample if you must. And right here, you can delete it. If I go maybe to this one, maybe I don't want it. I want to delete the kick from the sample pool. I'm going to delete the sample. So, but in this case, I just want to go back and I want my AST01. Besides the stems, you have two icons. The first one is to audition the sample. If I select that icon and I press it, I get the sample, and every time I touch the screen, it's playing back. Then the other one is the zoom. This one will let you zoom with your fingers and you can move it to the left and then you can move it to the right. Since this is, of course, the sample edit, we can adjust the start and the end, and you can do it with your fingers just like this, the start and the end. And it doesn't matter on which one you are, you can do so, right? So if I go maybe to the end and to the start, this is what I want to chop. I tap the screen and we can audition that part. Now doing it with the finger sometimes is a little bit funny, but you can go to the start, the end, and then we have the loop. We're going to talk about this. Once you selected the start right there, you can adjust the start or you can adjust the end, with a little bit more precision, let's say. Now still, right here, you have the cue links, and these ones are super useful. I'm going to go to the first row, and notice that it's selecting the start. The next one, it's the end, and the next one, it's the loop. So, and the other one is the slice, but we are not there. So it means that when you are on the start, the first one is you're going to be able to adjust the start of the sample, but it's just much easier than doing it with the hand. If I zoom on this section, I'm going to go here and I'm going to show you a trick in a minute. You can see that it's just much easier. Now then, it's a little bit wild with the first cue link. The other ones are just a little bit more precise, right? So you can just really fine tune it with the other cue links. And the same thing you can do with the end. If I go all the other way to the end right here, we can, of course, stretch it. We can move it around. And just, it's the same options that we get with the start. I'm going to go to the first cue link and I'm going to maybe do something like this just to show you. If I go to the first cue link and I move this, by default, it's going almost freely. Notice that the numbers are whole numbers. Is 92,000, 3,000, and so on and so on and so on. The thing is that sometimes you will need to snap it to the zero crossing point. And this is to avoid clicks and pops when you sample something. So if you go to shift, you have zero snap. When you enable this, now whenever you move the start or the end, notice that now you have different numbers. So it's just positioning the start or the end to a zero crossing point, so you can avoid the clicks and the pops. Another thing that you get that it's super useful, let's say that I'm editing all of this, right? Just editing all of this. And I'm going to select the start. You can zoom with the minus and the plus. If I do plus, it will zoom to the one that you have selected. If I do minus, it's going to be minus. But let's say that I want to zoom to the end. You do plus, and it will zoom to the end. And you can keep zooming and doing more. Right, so all of this I'm showing you is just, pretty basic information. We are just covering the basics, and then we will move on to the next options and to the process and the assign and all the options that you get, because this sample assign section, it's pretty wild. You can do a lot of things. At the bottom, you can see that you have something that says trim, and this is super important. This is how you will control the different modes. Trim is the mode that we are using right now. If I go to the next one, it's chop, and this is completely different, and you have a lot of other options right here. We are going to get back to the chop in a few minutes. I'm going to stay on the trim for now. Then at the bottom, you have controls for your tune, your root note, and your BPMs. Okay, so let's say that I want to manually change the tune, and I'm going to go right here. And I want to, change the tune. I can do it with the encoder. And notice that, of course, the sample is going to be played faster. And it's because, of course, we are changing the tune, and this changes the length. All right, so pretty simple. Now, the thing is that then you have the root note, and then you have your BPM. If I change the root note, and this sample is C, actually the root note of this is C. If I change it, it doesn't matter, right? So it's still playing the same. If I change the BPMs, I'm going to go down. Notice it's still the same. And this sample, it's 110 BPMs. This is the nature of the sample. The root and the tempo, when you import this sample that you're working with, are going to be detected by your MPC. Still, you can manually change the root note and the tempo if you really want. And this would be really important if you're using this sample on a key group program, for example. Right here, you have a tiny little arrow. If you press it, you have more options. And notice that we have, again, the tune. And if I play it and change the tune, it's going to do the same thing. If I go down, it's just the same deal. We have the same root note, the same BPM. So what's going on with this? Even if right here, I can multiply it, and it's going to change the tempo. But notice it still sounds the same. And I'm changing the tune. There we go. It doesn't matter if I make it faster or slower. And now here you have the key and you have the scale. So this is the detection part of the sample edit. At the bottom, you can detect the key, and the key of this sample is C minor, actually. So you can go to detect key, and even if I change it right here to something else, when you press the detect key, it's going to do it, and it's going to tell you, dude, this sample is on the key of C and C minor. But if it's not, and it's not, you can manually change it. That's the whole point. Then you get the detect BPMs. The BPM of the sample is 110. I'm going to just change it and then detect BPM. And I'm going to go to detect. And then it's going to say, dude, it's 110. And yeah, it's correct. It's 110. Then the other one is going to be from BPM. And it's talking about the pitch. I'm going to go to my sequence, and as you can see, it's 120. I'm going to change it to 100, just to 100. In theory, if I go to my sample and I just, maybe select the whole sample, just like this, if I play my sample, this will not fit 100 BPMs because by default is 110. If I go to main and enable the metronome, I have it on play and record. So it's going to be pretty loud. I'm going to go to sample edit, and I'm going to be playing the sample and doing play start at the same time. Of course, it's not matching, right? Not matching. So So if I go to from BPM, this is going to do the adjustments so you can fit the sample into whatever sequence that you have. You can select how many beats if you want, but then at the bottom you have match and then to sequence. I'm going to say match for now. And notice that now it changed the BPM to 100, but also it changed the tuning. If I play the sample and play start the sequence, notice that the tempo is fine, right? So it's fitting the sequence tempo. I'm going to do it again. 3, 2, 1. So what it does, again, it will adjust the pitch of your sample so it can fit your tempo, your main BPMs, right? So main BPM. I'm going to go back to what we had from before, which is 0 on the tune and 110. If I go to from BPM, then you have to the sequence. So this will pretty much, if I do it, I'm gonna do to sequence. And this is what changes is the BPM that you have right here. Still, if I go out, notice that it changes the BPM of your sequence. So, it's adjusting your sequence to match the sample that you have right here. It's just completely different. It's just a different thing. In my case, if you ask me, I much prefer to change the sample to fit whatever it is that, I want to do. But, this is completely up to you. I'm going to just keep it the way it is so we can use the sample the way it was. Because we still need to talk about all the other functions that you get. Right, so before we talk about chopping the samples and, assigning them to the pads and so on, we need to talk about the loop, something very basic. Now, if I do shift, notice that it says loop right here. If I enable the loop, of course we will enable the loop, but if I, just tap it right here, the loop will be enabled by default. So if I go to the loop, this will give you the loop line, which is the blue line right here at the top. If I move the starting point and the ending point, notice that there's a blue line. That's the loop. So by default, if I play it now, and you know what, I'm gonna just select it just like that. If I play it now, remember that the loop is on and it has a loop and an arrow that goes. This is forwards. If I press and hold, it's just gonna, play the sample and repeat it over and over again. You can do all of this with the pads, but the pads are a little bit hidden from the camera. So, if you press the pad, or in this case the screen, it's just gonna loop it. You have different loops, which is gonna be the forwards and backwards, as you could guess. Then if I go to the next mode, it's gonna be the reversed and just reversed. If I go to the next one, it's gonna be off. So yeah, that's what you get. Now the thing is that right now, if I play the sample, it's just looping the whole damn sample. I'm sorry, the whole damn selection. So how can I separate the selection from the loop? Right here you have something that says loop lock. If I disable, now you can move the loop. So maybe I want to loop this part right here, and then you can do so. And all the different modes are just completely the same. Alright, so that's forwards, then back and forwards, and it's gonna stay right there on that looping point. That's pretty much it. On the Q-Links side of things, the third one is gonna be the fine-tuning of the loop point. Right, so you do have the same fine-tuned controls. Also, when you enable the loop, if I disable, it just goes out. But if I enable, it goes back in. And if I play it back, notice that it's not playing loop. But if I enable, you have the X fade, which is going to be the crossfade. If it's all the way down to 0, we just get pretty much nothing. If I go all the way up, and I play it again, notice that there is a tiny little bit of smoothing in. If I go to the other one, it's just the same mode, but a little bit more linear. So it depends on what you're looping. If you want to smooth it in, and instead of just making it super hard, you can use the fade or the crossfade. All right, so that's the loop. Now at the bottom, you have the pad colors. And the first time I was learning how to use the MPC, it was, what the F is this? What the F is going on? Because all the different ones will just do, different things. Why? And it's because, there's an order to this. There's a reason. Each pad will play back the sample in a different way. We have a selection, starting and end. And you know what? I'm going to make it a little bit more maybe obvious. Something like that. Something like that. Somewhere around there. All right, that's fine. It's almost the same. So the ones at the bottom are going to be one shot. So if I play from start, this is when it's play from start. It means that it will play from start and then just die right there. But I need to play it, press the pad, and it's going to be one shot. It's going to complete the whole motion. This one is going to be play to start. So it's going to play from some point and it's going to end on the start. That's the difference. This is why, once you read the manual, it's like, oh, I get it. I'm going to make a different selection. There we go. I guess that's fine. If I play this one, notice that this one is just playing from a different place. So this one is going to play, or it's going to start playing at that whatever position, it doesn't matter, but then it's going to play to the end. And it doesn't matter, my selection right here, it will just play there. Right? If I do something like that, notice that it's just starting a little bit before my selection. But the thing is that it's going to be, it will play to that end. It depends on the sample. Now then the other ones play from end. So it's playing from the end. And that's it, But the thing is that these ones are one shot. What happens with the other ones at the top? So these ones are the same options, are the same that the ones that you have right here at the bottom. But these ones are note on. It means that you need to press and hold. If I press it and hold it, that's fine. Doing the same as this one. But the thing is that if I press and release, it's going to stop playing back. Same with this one. It's going to play to start, just like the one at the bottom. And this one, it's the same, play to end, and then play from end. But, we need to press and hold. Then we have this one, which is going to be the play all. It's just going to play all the sample. It doesn't matter our selection. It's going to play all. Now, then you have this, which is going to be play the sample. And in many occasions, most occasions, these ones are the ones that you should use. This one will play your selection one shot, and this one will play your selection on note on, so you need to press and hold. But these ones are just the same. Alright, so if I keep holding, we just get the loop, because we are looping. And on this one, it's not looping. That's the main difference. Now then at the top, you have the same options that you have right here at the bottom, but they will be for the loop. This one will just play the loop. This one will play at some point, from some point, until it meets the line of the loop. Notice that it starts right here and ends right here. Then you have the same, but it's going to be playing from the loop. There we go. Starts on loop and then goes to the back. And then it's going to be playing just the loop. And this one again is just super useful. I could stay on the cue link and just fine tune the loop point so I can make a better decision. I want to go to the... Notice it's a little bit, clicky. So maybe I want to go to this and just fine tune it. There you go. If I go to the second, I can edit the end. And there you go. So this, and this are the most useful ones. All the other ones, they're fine, but it depends on what you want to do or what you're doing or, all the work that you're doing on the sample. All right, so I'm just going to be disabling the loop. If I play the sample, it's just not looping. Cool. So what I wanted to do, because, we are working with a sample, and at the end, once you chop you select your starting point, your ending point, maybe you want to do something with this. At the bottom, you can see this assign. Now, if I go to chop, you don't have the same one because you need to go to shift, I'm holding it, and you have convert and then process and slice. We're going to talk about this in a minute. On the trim side of things, you need to go to the assign to do something with whatever selection that you did right here. If I go to assign, you have two options: assign slice to pad, and then make new sample. Okay, so first I'm going to go out to main, and I want you to notice that I'm on track number 1 and I have a program number 1. So I do have a drum program. Still, this drum program, it's just completely empty. I have absolutely nothing. It's okay. I'm going to go back to main and then back to sample edit. And again, I want to do something with my selection. When you go to assign, again, now we know we have a program, and it's the program 001. So we will be assigning a sample to that program. That's the first thing. Then you need to decide what you want to do. If you want to make a new sample or you want to assign the slice to a pad. In this case, I'm going to be doing both. I'm going to say assign slice to a pad, and the program is going to be program number 1. So if I go here, let's say that I want to assign that sample to the pad A1. That's the A1, but we can just press the pads and just change the slot of the pad, of course. And then you have two options right here. You have the non-destructive, and then you have the pad params. This is a little bit hard to explain because we are missing information. So I'm going to keep moving forward. For now, I'm going to do non-destructive slice, and then I'm going to explain the difference between both. So okay, so once you're ready to do it, you just press do it, and what it will do, if I go to that pad program, that drum, I press the pad and it's there. Right, so if I go to program edit and then go to samples to see what's inside, that's the sample. It's going to be the whole sample with the selection that we did. So it's not cropping, it's not just creating a new sample. It's just selecting, grabbing the start, the end, and it's assigning it to, as a reference, to whatever pad that we have on our program. Then what if we do the other thing? I'm going to go back to sample edit. We have the other option, which is going to be the make new sample. So this one is the same idea. I'm going to stay on program 1, but now I'm going to be going to the A2 because the A1 we have, something else. So this one will create a new sample. Then you have two choices: crop the sample or not. If it's selected, it's going to remove whatever that is not selected at the beginning of the start of the end or the end. So I'm just going to do it. I'm going to go do it. Oh, do it. There we go. It's pretty fast. If I go out, I play this one, we get it. Remember, we are making a new sample. So if I go to browse, now right here, you have a second file called AST02. So it's just, creating an extra sample. You need to be aware of this. If I go to my sample edit and I go to the top, this was the original sample, still is the original sample. But if I go to the other one, it's the cropped one. So this is what we do, right? So we go to the sample edit, you graph a sample, you change whatever it is that you need to change, and then you perform an action like, creating a new sample or assigning it, and so on and on and on. I'm going to go to the pencil and I'm going to start over because I want to show you something else. I'm going to create a new program. It doesn't matter. And now what I want to do, I want to go to the sample edit. I'm going to make sure that, you are on trim and not on program. And I'm going to go right here and say that I want this selection. And once you have your selection, I want to assign it to a program. Remember the program number 001, now it's completely empty. I want to assign that sample to the A1. This time, I'm going to use pad params. Again, I'm going to explain why in a second. And I'm going to do it. So now back in main, I know that this pad has that sample, that selection. So maybe I want to select a different part and assign it to the 2 and then to the 3 and to the 4 and so on and on and on. So we can do this. I can go right here and select a different section, maybe something like that. I can go to assign and make sure you do pad params. I'm going to go to this one, pad parameters, A2, assign slice. I'm going to be doing it. And now if I go back, I have the other one, right? So we are just going to the different sections, and if I go to sample edit and we go to program, we can see that this is the chop, the first chop, and this is the second one. So we could do the same, with the rest of the file, just complete the sample and just add chops to the different pads. The thing is that this is fun, but if you want to do something like that to, chop it in multiple pieces and add them to the pads, you have a better way, which is going to be called the chop. If I press the trim, notice it says chopped and chop, and you have different methods to do it. All right, so let's talk about chops. I'm on a new project and on an empty program, and if I go to sample edit, there are no samples. So I'm going to go to browse, and I'm going to navigate to my sample, which is the AST01, the same sample that we've been using. And now that sample is on the sample pool, and if I go to sample edit, I have the same sample than before, but on a just completely clean project. When you go to the sample edit and you go to the chop, I am with the chop right now, notice that you have something like this. You get the green, this color, and then you get the first pad. Now the point right here is that we want to create chops, and you have different functions, different modes. You have manual, threshold, regions, and BPM. Now if I play the cue, it will play from this play, that's the cue. And right here at the bottom, it will tell you which slice you have and how many slices that you have. So in this case, it's telling me all, but what I want to do, I want to move the cue point and I want to make a chop. So maybe I'm going to be chopping right here. There we go. So now I'm going to do slice plus, and notice that now this one says 1. I can modify this one and just put it right here, even going here and just making the slice just right there. And now I can go maybe to slice 2, and notice that we have the 1, we have the 2. Now I'm going to be moving this point, and I'm going to press slice plus. It's going to chop it, and now we have 3. Maybe we can chop it right here. We have 4, then we have 5, then we have 6, and let's say that we want 6 different slides or slices. So when you do this, the pads, they will change. So now you have 6 slices, and when you press the pads, you can hear the different slices or chops. So this is how you can do it on manual. Still, you have more options. You can do shift, and you can go to slice, and right here you can select the slice that you want to delete. Notice if I go to all is all, but I can target, and then if I do shift, I can do slice minus, and it's just gonna get rid of that slice. Or maybe I can do clear all, and this will delete all the slices. If I go there, I have no more slices. Another way to do it is with the options that you have right here at the top. If you want, you can go to the pencil, and right here, you can manually create the chops if you want. And this, of course, will assign it to the different pads. If you want to erase, you just can tap the different slice, and you can just, erase the chop. So, okay, so this is the manual, and it's just pretty easy to work with. Another way to do it, I'm going to move the cue right to the beginning, right? So you're going to move it right at the start of the sample. And I'm going to press this pad. As soon as it starts, I can just press the pads and make the chops whenever I think I should be making a chop. And once you're done, you can audition all the different chops that you did. And remember, if you don't like it, you can manually delete it, or you can do shift and then clear all the chops. So that's it, that's the manual. You can do it manually if you wish. But then you have the other modes, and the other modes are more, let's say, automatic. If I go to threshold, it will analyze the sample and it will do the chops for you. Now for this, you have 2 options, the sensitivity and the minimum time, which is the minimum length of the chop. Because, in this case, I have something very simple to analyze, but if you have something a little bit more complex, you might want to fine tune it. And when you do so, it's going to kind of reanalyze whatever you did. That is, in this case, we have less chops. So, you can fine-tune the threshold. And this, I guess, is the most popular, let's say. I'm going to do shift and clear all. If I go to threshold, just going to do it for me. And I'm going to go to the selection. I'm going to just go to select. And I'm going to go and drag it. And I can do this. But once you do this, you are changing whatever the threshold is, supposed to do. And if you release it, notice it says manual. So whenever you move it or go back to threshold, is going to do it for you, but as soon as you change it to something else, you're going to be on manual. So, you can still use the threshold and then just, fine tune whatever it is that you want to fine tune. Let's say that this is generating by a threshold. If I delete, I could just delete what I don't care. And there you go. It's just, going to do it for you. I'm going to do shift and I'm going to clear all the different chops. The other mode is going to be the regions. And on this one, as you could guess, is going to chop the sample on regions. It's going to do it on 16 because that's the default value that we have right here at the bottom. But, we could chop it, and now it's not analyzing anything. It's just, taking looking at the length of the sample and chopping it into 16 equal parts. So that's why, we have the regions right here. If I change it to, I don't know, 10, we are going to be getting 10 chops. Still, if you want to generate 10 chops, that's, the same thing that we did before. I can go right here and just fine tune all the different chops to whatever it is that I want. And now I don't care how many chops do we have. Right? You just, you can't do this and then do it manually. And now you have something a little bit better. So I'm going to go to shift and clear all. Now then you have your BPM, and this one, what it will do, it will slice it based on whatever selection that you have right here. So depending on the bars that you have, it's going to do more or less. Depending on the beats you have, it's going to do more or less. And depending on the time division that you select right here. So again, at the end of the day, it's just completely up to you. You have a lot of different ways to chop it. And then again, you can edit and get whatever it is that you want. I'm going to go to manual. I'm going to create a chop right here. Now you have this option. If I press it, it's going to give you two. Split the region or combine with previous. I am right here on this region, right? So I have the one. This is the one selected between the one and the end of the one. I'm going to go there and I'm going to split it. I'm going to select the split. When we split, of course, it's chopping this into two different splits. I'm going to undo. And I'm going to go back here. What if I wanted to do the other one? The other one is going to be combine. And of course, on this one, if I create a different chop, now I have two chops. I'm going to select that one. If I do this and do combine, it's going to grab, the previous chop and just combine it into just one. Now I'm going to maybe go here. I'm going to create a new slice. It doesn't matter. I'm going to select the slices. And I want to move this slice. I'm going to move it and notice that I cannot move forward. I just cannot do it. I cannot overlap the slices. And that's fine. That's fine. That's how it should work, I guess. But then at the bottom, it says link slices. This is why you cannot overlap. If I do something like this, we can overlap if we want. All of this, again, it's completely up to you. If you start overlapping, it might look, a little bit challenging sometimes to get it to work or to see what you're slicing. But, I much prefer to keep it on linked slices. But again, all depends on what you want to do. Okay, so I'm going to go to threshold. I'm going to, do shift, clear all, just to get rid of everything. And I'm going to go to the threshold. So this is just creating all the different chops for me. Now I want to take the chops that it generated and add it to a program. So I can use it on something, right? That's the whole point. I'm going to do shift. And the way you do this is going to be convert. I'm going to go to convert and you have, of course, multiple options. New drum program, then new clip program, and, a lot more options. So I'm going to start on the first one. So this will create a new drum program using the slices, right? We have 8. And then again, we can select between path params or non-destructive. I'm going to explain the difference on the next section. Now then you have something that says create events. And this is pretty interesting. I'm going to create the events and it's going to ask you how many bars do you want. I'm going to say 2. You can, of course, do more if you wish. But in this case, I'm just going to say just 2 bars. And I'm going to do it. I'm going to go back to main and notice that it will create a drum program with the name of the sample. And if I go to my pads, we have all the different chops as a drum program. As you could guess, it would work, right? So this works. Now the thing is that you do have something else. If I do play, notice what's going on. It's playing the pads. Because when you generate the drum program and you go to the create events, it will create behind the scenes all the different events. It will last 2 bars because we said 2 bars, but it will just, add it for you. So again, all of this, it depends on what you want to do. In this case, I never use it, but if you want to use it, you can. This is what this does. I'm gonna go and do sample edit, and I'm gonna do shift and go back to convert. And I'm gonna move on to the other options, because this one is pretty simple. It's just creating a new program and adding the slices for you. I'm gonna go to the next one. It's gonna be new clip program. Now the new clip program will do the same thing as the new drum program, but this one, of course, will be a clip program. And this is the clip, right? So it will create a clip program for you, just like you would for the drum program. Let me just go back to the convert. So those are, the 2 first options that you get. Now then it just starts getting a little bit weird. Useful, but weird. It says new program with new samples. So now it will create a new program, but it will generate new samples. And you have more options. You can create the events. I'm going to uncheck because we already know what it is. But the main idea on this one is that, again, it will create a new program if you check it, of course. But it will just create new samples, and it will crop whatever is that you have right here. So each pad will get its own sample. And you know what? I'm going to do it. I was not going to do it, but this video, it's already way too long. So I'm going to say do it, and notice what happens. Now we have a lot of different samples at the top. So these are all the chops. If I go to main and I go maybe right here, we have a second program called CH. And if I play the samples with the pads, I know that you cannot see it. I'm playing all the different samples. And if I go to the pool, this again generates new samples. And these are all the different chops, our 8 chops. Now I don't want this. I'm going to just go undo and just delete that program. And I'm going to go back to whatever we had from before. But yeah, this is what it will do. It will just create a new new program with new samples. And all these samples are cropped, so you don't have the extra data. I'm going to go to the next option, which is going to be assign slice to pad. We kind of already talked about this. This is the same, but it's going to be for the trim. Remember that when we go to assign, we have the assign slice to pad. Well, this is the same idea. If I go here to convert, we can select the slice behind the scenes, one of the slices that we have, and then target to a pad and to a program. And you know what? I'm going to do it right now. I'm going to get out and I'm going to go to a new program. I'm going to just create a new program and just call it GGG, so we can, find it in a second. I'm going to go back to the sample edit. I'm going to do shift, and I'm going to maybe select that sample. And it sounds like that. I'm going to do shift. I'm going to do convert. I want to add it to the GGG. We can use non-destructive, or you can use pad parameters. I'm going to use pad params for now, and I'm going to add it to the pad, A1. You know what? I'm going to do it to this one, to the A13. Once you're done, I'm going to be doing it, and I'm going to get out, and I am on that drum program. So now if I play it, we have that sample and nothing else. So, we are getting it. Now, is this chopping the sample? No, it's not. If I go to the program and go to samples, we can see that it's just, a reference to that chop. All right, so I'm going to go back to main and then maybe to the sample edit. And we have all the options. I'm going to go convert. And the next one is going to be make new sample. I'm going to select the, 14. And it will chop it, crop it, make a new sample, and add it to the program GGG. Again, we're going to add it right here. And I'm going to say, do it. I'm going to get out. And now we have it right there. If I check this sample, I'm going to go to the program, the actual program, we can see that, we have the first, which is a reference, and the other one is a crop. Now I'm going to go back to the AST1, and we don't have anything else. AST2, then AST1, and that's it. And then shift, and then convert. And the last one is going to be the patched phrase. So this one, what it will do, we'll just export, or just grab the whatever it is that we did, and it's just going to export it, but it's in a different way. I'm going to, do it. I'm going to go to do it. Now at the top, if I go right here, notice that it says PP. And as you can see, this one has a different icon, right? This is because, it's that project tempo type of file. So what it will do, if we change the project tempo and we are using it, it will easily adjust to that tempo. That's pretty much. It's like, when you go maybe to maybe you don't know this. If I go to a pad program and I go to the sample edit, is like a better, it's like warping it for you pretty much. Go back to menu, go to new project. I don't want to save. I just want to start from the scratch because I want to show you the non-destructive versus the pad perform. And for this, I need to create a raw example. I'm going to go to the browse. I'm going to clean new project. I'm going to go to browse. I'm going to go to that, samples. I'm going to add the sample to the pool. And now, again, is the only thing that we have. Now I'm going to get out and I'm going to go to the sample edit. I'm going to take the end and I'm going to be selecting the first 2 chords. And I'm going to go to assign and I'm creating the example. It's assign, it slides to pad. And, we have the program 001, which is the default. And I'm going to be selecting the A1, which is already selected. And I'm going to choose non-destructive slice. And I'm going to go and I'm going to do it. So now if I go to my main program and I play that pad, that is that we are getting it. And I'm playing the A1 pad right now. Cool, so we get it. What I want to do, I want to copy the A1 pad and paste it to the 2. And for this, we can go to the edit program, right? We can go here and then copy pads. And I'm going to copy the A1 and paste it on the A2. And I go right there to the A2. So I'm basically copying my first pad that where we already have a sound and a chop, and then just pasting the same thing on the A2, right? That's the only thing that we are doing. And I'm gonna go right here and just say do it. So now I have one sample here, and I have the same one right here. Now what I want to do, since it's the same chop, I want to maybe go to this one and edit the sample. Now I'm going to go to the sample edit, and remember that right here you have the program. So if I play this, it's going to be that. If I play that, it's going to be the same, but I want to change the pad 2. And I'm going to say, okay, so the pad 2 is going to be playing the next part. Right? And I know that what I'm doing is just very simple, and I'm taking my time because I want you to really understand what's going on right here. So in theory, my pad 1, my A1 should be playing this part, and my A2 now, since I changed it, should be playing this part. All right, so I'm gonna get out, and if I play this, we get the same. But now, if I go to the sample edit and I press this, it's gonna be this sample, and this is this. Okay, so what the F is going on, right? So when we made a copy of the first pad, and then we assigned that copy to the pad number 2, we are copying the same pad, the same slice, the same chop with all the parameters, the same parameters. And if you remember, this one had non-destructive. What non-destructive means is that when you assign it to a pad, what it does, it will add a pointer to the slice. I'm going to go back to the trim. So this one right here, this is the pointer. This is the data that it's remembering. So when we go back to that program and then we change it, what we are basically doing is we are changing the pointer, what the pad remembers. So now if I play it again, it's changing for all the different copies that we make. So if we want to do something like this, maybe just using the non-destructive will not work, because if we want to edit the different pads, we cannot. If we make one edit on the first pad, it will affect all the other pads. That's actually how it works, and it's fine that it should be working like that. I'm gonna go back to main and I'm gonna delete this program so we make sure that we have nothing. And I'm gonna go back to sample edit, and I'm gonna go back to my AST001 and just again go back to the beginning. I want to do the same thing with the chops. I'm gonna go to trim, I'm gonna go to chops, and I'm gonna select threshold. I'm gonna do shift and I'm gonna do convert. Remember what we want to do. We want to take all the chops and maybe create a new program. So this one, new program using slices, it's fine. Now remember, we have the other one, the pad params. I'm going to use the same method, non-destructive slices. Okay, so I'm going to go and do it, and I'm going to go back to main. If I search for my program, is the AST001. Now, if I play this, we get the different chops, and that's fine, you know, this is what we should be getting. Now let's say again, I want to go here to the sample edit, and I'm going to go to program, and I want to go maybe to the first pad, right? And I want to edit this. I'm going to do something like this. If I go to the second pad, notice what happened. And I'm going to do undo so we can see it. This is what we should be playing on the second one. Now, all of this are pointers. If I change one, it will change all the other ones, right? So when I edit something, it's affecting the rest because they are pointers. Now, I'm going to go back to main. I'm going to make sure that I delete the program. And I'm gonna kaboom, I'm gonna delete it, right? So we have no more programs. I'm gonna go back to sample edit and to our sample, and I'm gonna do AST001. I'm gonna just back to the beginning. And I want to do the chops, but this time I'm gonna be using the other method. I'm gonna go to threshold just to make sure, and I'm gonna go to shift and do convert. In this case, I'm gonna be doing pad params. This is the other way. And I'm gonna press do it. I'm gonna go back to main. I'm gonna select that program, AST1. If I play it, it's cool, right? We get what we should. If I want to edit the samples, I'm gonna go to sample edit, and then I'm gonna go to that program. We can see that we have all the chops. Now, if I change and edit this one, I'm gonna change it like that. What happens if I play this? Nothing. Still works. So we can edit all of this. So this is what we can do when we select pad params. Now you can see and you can manually change this. Notice that right here it says pad. So if I select maybe the first one and change it to something else, now we can target the different slices. I can say, okay, so this is my one. So the one is the slice number one in the memory of whatever is that we did on the AST01. If I change this, it will change the reference for all the instances of that reference of the slice number one. This is why when editing on the other method, the non-destructive, is failing because it's changing all the slices number one for all the drums, all the pads that are using that slice number. Okay, so let me show you something else. I'm going to delete all the programs, make sure that you have nothing. I'm going to go back to sample edit, and right here I'm going to be selecting that AST01, which is the only thing that we have right now. I'm going to go to here and make sure that I have nothing. You know, I can go to chop and do clear all. So we have no more chops. If I move it, you know, we have nothing. I'm going to go to threshold, and I'm going to be doing the same thing because I want to show you something else, and I want you to pay attention. I'm going to do shift, and I'm going to do convert. I want to create a new program, and this time instead of pad params, I keep saying pad perform because it's a different thing from a different place. I'm going to go to non-destructive slice, and I'm going to go and do it. Now, if I get out of this screen, I'm going to go to my program, which is called AST001. So now, if I play it, you know, we get it. But we know that since this is non-destructive, it would be a hell to change and edit right here. And we can see all the different slices. Even if we go to program, we can see the slices. And I know that if I edit one, I'm going to be changing all the other ones. So if you go to shift, you have an option right there that says 2 pad. Let me get the camera close. I'm selecting this slice number one and make sure that I'm on the program. I'm not on the other one. So because if I press shift, I have it. I don't have it. I'm going to go to program. If I want to go to A1 and I want to edit that while keeping all the method of non-destructive, I can do shift and I can change it to pad. And this will make this slice pad param. Now, if I go to the A2 and the other ones, notice that they are not changing. They keep the reference to the slice. But the other one, now it's pad. And if I want to do this, I can without affecting all the other ones. Right? So you can edit and make it like this if you want. If I go to A1, now it's completely different. we can change it because it's independent from the other slices, because it's some pad. And you can do this, of course, with all the pads that you want. But, if you want to do pad perform for all the pads, maybe it's a better idea just to do maybe on the chop, do shift, convert, and do it directly from here, and not do it manually for all the pads once you create it. But if you make a mistake and you did non-destructive slice, you can go back and select the pad, just like that, and just do shift and change it to pad. Okay, so back into a new project, and I have the same sample than before, and I want to show you the different functions that you get when you go to process. And I mean, you have a lot of different functions right here. You have a lot. If you go to functions, you have a different interface. This is like going to the edit ones. You can do all this. Most of them are just, very simple to understand. I'm going to start right from the beginning. If you have some selection, and you know what, I'm going to be doing it. If you do have some selection like this and you go to process, you can discard whatever is that you selected. That is that, it's not selected. It's just going to remove it. If I'm going to do undo, I'm just back to what I had from before. So again, just like this, most of the options are very simple to understand. If I go to the next one, it's going to be delete. So this will delete the section that we have selected. I'm going to do something like this and just keep everything else. I'm going to go to process. I'm going to go to delete and then do it. And then, we get kind of we merge all the different parts. If I do undo, we always go back to what we had from before. Let's go to process. I'm going to go to this one, which is going to be silence. This will add a silence. Remember, we have a lot of things selected. If I do it, it's going to just silence all of that section. I'm going to undo and go back to process. And just like this, all the options, are just very simple. If I go to extract, it's going to create a new sample of whatever we have selected. I guess I don't need to explain it. And right here, you can change the name of the new sample. And this one, I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to go back. Now, this one is cool. If you have a sample that it's super quiet, this will just normalize it. It will just bring the level up to match the maximum level, maximum peak. If I do it, notice that right now it's just much louder. And if I go here and just play it, just louder. But notice that it's doing the selected part. It's not doing it to all. If I do undo, it goes back. I'm going to go to process, and then the next one is going to be reverse. And, just going to do it. Why not? It's going to be in reverse. Super useful. Going to do undo and then process. Let's go to the next one. It's going to be fade in. And this one, you need to decide what you want to do. If it's going to be linear, logarithmic, or exponential. In this case, I'm going to do linear. It's going to be pretty easy to see. When you do it, it's going to fade it in. If I do, you undo, you go to process, and we have fade out. And then you have other options like the pitch shift. This is gonna, change the pitch. I'm gonna go and say, I don't know, I'm gonna go 12 semitones up. And I know that this video is just way too long, but it's just the way it is. And if I play it, it's just, pitch shifting. I'm gonna undo and make sure that we are back to the same. I'm gonna go back to process, and we have time stretch. Now this one, what it will do pretty much, I'm going to go and maybe select all for now. I'm going to go to process. Now, as you could guess, time stretch is going to stretch the sample to match some timing, right? And if I go to the tempo, is actually the ratio. If I go to, 50%, you can double tap to do 50 if you want to, or do, like this. What happened? There we go, 50. So this is going to be half tempo. So if I go here and do this, it's going to be normal tempo because this ratio is 100. And if I do 200, it's going to be double tempo. So this is going to time stretch the sample to that. For now, I'm just going to go back, and I'm going to go back to whatever we had from before, which is going to be 100, which is the default. Now, why do you get something like this? The thing is that I'm going to give you an example. I'm going to go to main, right? So let's say that I want to create a new program. Just to do it, I'm going to create a new one, program number 2. This is going to be my Pogo drum kit. doesn't matter. And I'm gonna go to browse. Maybe I'm gonna bring a different sample. I'm gonna bring this one. I'm gonna use that one because it's just very easy to hear. I'm gonna go back to browse, sample assign, and I want that sample right here. I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna go and play it with my pads. I'm playing it right here. You don't see it because it's right here at the bottom. If I go to the program edit and I go to the samples, I know that this sample it's playing at a rate, right? It has a time. The thing is that this might not fit whatever tempo that we have right here. So what you get, maybe I'm gonna go to 110. Just there we go. And I'm going to go back to the program edit. I can go to warp the sample. And if I play it, now it should be, playing at tempo. But the thing is that what if I want to maybe go a little bit more aggressive? I'm going to just challenge this. And I'm going to go maybe to 95. If I play it, notice it sounds like crap. So when you have a sample that needs to fit whatever groove is that you have at the back with whatever tempo, you can go to warp and see how it sounds. If it sounds like crap, just like it sounds right now, you have a different option, which is going to be time stretch. And it works just, much better. I'm going to go to the sample edit and I'm going to be going to the same sample. If I play it, this is the normal tempo of this sample. This one sounds fine because we are in the sample edit. So what I want to do, I want to go to I want to go to process. And instead of time stretching, you have a function that's to copy the sample. So I'm going to duplicate this sample to, I don't know why, it doesn't matter. So this is just a copy. I'm going to go and do it. So now if I go at the top, we have the original and then we have the copy. I'm going to be changing and processing this one. So then at the top, I'm going to go to time stretch. And what I want to do, I want to time stretch it to match my tempo. At the left side, it will tell you the information about the sample. In this case, it's going to be 8 beats, but I know that my sample, it's actually 16 beats. And what I want to do, I want to go right here and I want to go and time stretch it to match 95 bits per minute. And it's going to be a ratio of 86.4. This will process the sample to match that tempo. Now, once it's done processing, in this case, what I want to do, I want to go to my Pogo kit and I want to assign it to the pad number 2. So now we have the non-processed on the A1 and the processed on the A2. And I'm going to go and say do it. And now this one is the warped and this one is the time stretched. This is how the warped sounds. If I go to the time stretched, much better, right? So this is what you would use the time stretch. If you have some sample that needs to match to whatever it is that you do right here, then you try the warp and see if it works. If it works, cool, you don't need to do anything else. If not, you will need to go to the sample edit and do time stretch. This is why it's so important knowing the functions and everything that you can do on the sample edit. And I'm going to go back to process. What do we have next? We have the gain change. It's going to change the gain, and I feel like I don't need to create an example. It's just gonna change the gain, or just rise the volume up or down. Double tap to go back to the center. What is the next one? But I feel like I've been here for like 2 hours talking. This is how big this sample edit is. Then you have a bit reduce. You can lower the bit reduction. You can lower the bit resolution, right? If you want to, just to create that lo-fi type of effect. Then you have the stereo to mono. It's going to take whatever file that you have. If it's a stereo, it's going to change it to mono. And you can choose between the left, the right, or maybe some both. And it will just create a new file. You can assign the name right here. And it will save it on your project with a new name, but it's going to be mono. Make sure of that. And then you have the stems. Of course, at this point, everybody is talking about the stems. I'm not going to show it because if you go to the web, you have 100 million videos showing this function because it's one of the most requested functions for the MPC. So I'm not going to do it. I think this video is way too long already. Okay, so we are done on this one. I know it took a while because, you have a lot of functions. You can do a lot of things. And then on the next one, I'm gonna show you what you can do on the program edit. All the functions that you have right here when you have a sample. Right now it's just completely empty, but we could maybe select a sample. And when we work with the program, you have a lot of things, a lot of different functions inside samples, inside envelopes. Then you have the effects, modulation. So yeah, that's pretty much it. If you liked all of this, remember to like and subscribe, and see you on the next one.